X3, The Last Stand, like 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, Spider-Man
Yeah.
3. Like we were all excited for the shittiest movies, Nathan. Like we didn't know they were going to be bad at the time, and they just continued to disappoint. But yet we kept on coming back and back for more.
Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I like to talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, and welcome to the film journey. I am in a new location because of my pup, who is down here below me. But I also have my guest Jake, who is Steelbook obsessed on various social media platforms. Welcome to the channel, man.
How's it going, Nathan? Yeah, glad to be here. I'm loving the vinyl vibe behind you. We talked about that a little bit before we recorded, but yeah, I've got vinyls upstairs that I really never talk about, and I wish I could. It's nothing like the collection behind me, but it's a good chunk of stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I also rarely talk about my music collection, but it is recently been on my channel more because
Hmm.
of where I'm recording. But I mean, this pretty much big bookcase. I have some comics, and then I have records down below here. It's not as substantial, just like with
Hmm.
the movies, which is our bread and butter, right?
Yeah, but
So
I've got a steelbook wall over there that I like to use every now and again. That's kind of what your vinyls are doing. It's a nice backdrop. I'm
yeah,
digging
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Mhm.
So. Well, I was gonna say, for the people, watching this for the first time, if they haven't like interacted with you, tell us where you're at and what the stuff you do on your channel and also
Sure.
like on your pages.
Yeah. I post a video a day over on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, all Steelbook obsessed. I've been doing this daily since 2021. I've been making content since 2017, not on my channel, somewhere else, but I've been liking making content. It's a side gig that I can do that I still enjoy doing to this day. And it gives me an avenue to talk about movies. Love that because that does not happen in my neck of the woods every day. I have to go to social media to do that type of stuff. And
Yeah.
um, also, when you're listening to this, I started week 2 of 20 weeks of Steelbook giveaways every Saturday.
Okay.
I partnered with the people who make Steelbook, Scanavo, which is crazy, and they gave me some bangers to give away. I think I'm giving away a collector's edition of ET this week, and that sucker looks nice.
Wow. Well,
Mhm.
that's awesome. This will come out here in like probably a week after we record. But no, that's cool, and I'm glad to hear about that partnership. That's a really cool just thing. I didn't know that the company themselves who would make these Blu-rays, do they like partner with the studios? I would assume, or in general.
They reached out. It's mainly Universal and Warner Brothers titles that I was lucky enough to give away. There's a Lionsgate one. I would say they're based over in Europe, so I have a lot of European releases, but the giveaways are
Yeah.
worldwide, so anybody can win them, and the majority of them are 4K, so they'll play in any
Yeah.
player anyway.
So yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So Universal, which is great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, congrats, man, and also good luck to everyone who is getting in those giveaways because that's an amazing thing to do for the people who are watching and following along. But yeah, no, I've actually I've known about you for quite some time, obviously through Instagram, but
Hmm.
also we've been on various film battles
Yeah.
and various videos with our mutual friends in this space. But then also just I've watched some of your channel, of course, and yeah, I've always been a big fan. Even if I've always kind of been in a weird spot with steelbooks. Like
Hmm.
I'm one of the few people I feel like in this space who I'm like, I'm not steelbook obsessed, if you will.
Well, I would say the longer time has went on, coming up to present day, the more people are not steelbook obsessed just because prices are starting to get out of hand on some of those things. I started the name Steelbook Obsessed, the account on Instagram, just to log how many steelbooks I had because I just wanted to do that. I thought it'd be a fun thing to do on the side. And then it's grown into where I'm actually partnering with the company to give away stuff. Like it's kind of crazy how much things can evolve if you just like stay consistent with what you post and put out.
Yeah, I mean, I've had my ups and downs, and I'm sure a lot of people understand that. But like that, like you say, consistency really does matter, like quite a
Mhm.
bit, especially when it comes to the stuff that we're talking about, because obviously there's an audience for it, but then also at the same time, there's a growing number of people who are like in love with this medium, just like us,
Mhm.
and whatever form that looks like. If it's just buying the standard Blu-ray, or maybe getting a 4K Steelbook or whatnot, is awesome, because I like the idea of there being a lot of options.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, it's cool to see, honestly. But to your point, I remember, I think the last time I was really like into steelbooks was on those Best Buy
Yeah.
Tuesdays,
Oh,
where
yeah.
I think I want to say it was the first Wonder Woman around that time period, was
Mhm.
when I was, because I think 4Ks at that time were about $27 to $30, something around
The
there, and I'm
sweet
like, that's like,
spot. Yep. The
yeah,
absolute sweet spot, Nathan.
I'm like, that's a good spot to be at.
Mhm.
And after that, that's where it's like, okay, unless it's like, I think the last one I picked up was the Wicker Man from Studio Canal.
Yeah.
So
I just got sent Tombstone from Disney. I just watched that the other night, and for this to be, I think last I saw was $55. That's crazy for a 4K of any sort. I'm happy Disney sent this, but it's that their prices are out of control, and I don't know when it's going to go down. It just kind of stinks the way that kind of physical media collecting is. I feel like it's only going to get more expensive, and sometimes it's nice just to watch the stuff you got.
yeah, no, that's fair. But I how is the Tombstone like transferred? Does it look good?
I'm gonna put a review out, but I read a couple before I did my review. Bill Hunt really loved the transfer. I thought it was a mixed bag. I thought that some scenes looked phenomenal. Some nighttime scenes specifically looked very muddy, and I was kind of shocked at how subpar some parts looked on the 4K. Unfortunately, still a very
Yeah.
fun, entertaining movie, and it's the first time I ever watched it, so I had a blast
Oh,
watching it.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well,
yeah,
just
I
in time
wanted a
for
little bit
Val.
more out of this one 4K.
That's good.
Mhm.
I was gonna say just in time for Val Kilmer, of course, and
Yeah, he
yeah,
Doc Holliday in this movie. Oh my god, like
yeah,
it's kind of
what a
weird
character.
because he just passed away and he plays such a sickly character in this movie. It's just like, oh man, like it hit different. I guess I've never
I'm
seen it
sure.
before, but I did
Yeah.
not realize that's the type of character he played. So original, a breath of fresh air anytime he was on screen. It was just yeah, it was a good
No, the chemistry, and like you're saying, it's just a fun movie. Like, it's just one of those
right.
movies that I don't feel like is, you hear it ad nauseum, but like, it's one of those movies you don't see get made that often
Mhm.
anymore. Obviously they make fun movies like that, but not necessarily with a cast like that, where
Sure.
it seems like Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer and just this all star cast, just
Well, but they
shooting
made
around.
one, what was it, 3 years ago? The Harder They Fall with, like, an African American cast. It was a Western, but that type of movie now goes straight to streaming instead of going into
Right.
theaters. So, because that
Well,
movie's great, but it gets lost in the algorithm of streaming, and a lot of people don't even know it exists, and it's a pretty solid movie.
yeah, the last, if we're going westerns, it's like, you have to be Quentin Tarantino, or you
Yeah,
have to have some kind of the Coen brothers, I guess, some kind of like repertoire to be like, hey, this is something you can watch that is not just straight to DVD or streaming, I guess. So that's cool though. Well, for the people watching this is normally there is a structure to things, but I'd like to go in different conversation points. But as we're starting this off, I always like to ask, what is your earliest film memory, or like your film, like what's the earliest memory with movies?
I remember every Friday, my dad would bring home movies and bring home pizza, movies from the rental store, pizza from the place that was pretty much connected to the rental store, and we would just watch movies ad nauseum. We only owned about like 30 VHS tapes, and I would watch those on repeat. But the main thing that made me fall in love with movies was that one weekend my mom was out of town at a conference, and my dad is like, what the heck do I do with two kids by myself? I don't know what to do. So we went to the rental store, we picked up the entire Back to the Future trilogy, and we watched all three of them in one day, and that exploded my mind. Like, I didn't know films could be like that. I didn't think they could tell a continuous story from three different venture points, and then having like the time travel elements go, and the second movie being like the first one, and watching them back to back without any spacing is such a rewarding experience. It was when I was like 8, it still is when I'm 35. So yeah, that just really opened my mind to film, and I've really never looked back since.
Well, that's a great, like, very specific memory too.
Mhm.
I love that you were able to watch it all back to back. How old were you around that age?
I was either 8 or 9. Like, my brain is pretty much mush when it comes to memories, but that is, like, one of, like, the 25 core ones that are still in this noggin. I don't think I'll ever forget that.
Oh, that's great. Kudos to your dad for figuring out
Yeah,
the right way to do
right,
to do
right.
it.
And he's not a big movie guy at all. Like, if Walker Texas Ranger was on TV at all times, he would be happy. He doesn't need to watch anything else. So the
I
fact that he even did that, I'm still shocked at. I still talk
Well,
to him about that, and he
the
doesn't
3rd
remember
one's a
it at all.
Western, so I mean, it's not too far out
Right, the third one, yeah, yeah,
speaking of Westerns, yeah, I was gonna say that reminds me of my dad. He's if Bonanza or Gunsmoke is on, or any type of TCM where he's watching a Western, he's on. But I'm okay with that too, because I can sit there and watch it with him. But yeah, we have a little bit different breadth of type of genres of movies we watch, I'm sure.
right.
Um, but yeah, that's cool. So you said you had about 30 VHSs. I think that was around the same, like the same amount I had, mostly clamshell and a
20
couple
of
of,
the 30 were clamshell, absolutely,
yeah,
yep.
yep. And so I guess, you said you and your sibling, was it brother?
Yep, younger brother, mhm.
Younger brother. Okay. Did your brother and you kind of grow up at that point watching movies more, or is it more of a your thing, I guess?
It turned into more of a me thing. I went into high school and completely still fell in love with movies. He kind of went with my whole family side of the thing of like hunting and fishing and shooting, that type of stuff. And for
Outdoor stuff.
me, I don't understand going out in winter dead early in the morning before the sun comes out just to sit in the cold waiting for something to come across to point a gun at. Like, that's never been my thing whatsoever. I would rather sleep in, wake up, pop in a movie, start watching. Like, that is my dream day right there.
I hear you, man. I am totally. I'm an indoor cat. I'll go
Mhm.
on day hikes, but I'm not going out.
Yeah, no, I'll go on hikes and stuff. It's just, yeah, I don't, the hunting side of things. I did it once and I'm like, I'm never doing this again. This is literally like purgatory for me. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, I've done it once too, and I'm like, this is good enough for me.
I
Fishing,
get
I
it.
like more.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so
fishing I can do. I don't do it that often, but I don't hate doing that.
yeah, it's
Mhm.
I mean, it's a lot more peaceful, I suppose.
Right.
Um, but you had mentioned high school. Is that kind of where like it really propelled more into the
It
obsession, I suppose?
I would say it took a while. Like, that's where I found other friends that would go to midnight screenings, opening night. Like, this was back in the time frame of like X3, The Last Stand, like 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, Spider-Man
Yeah.
3. Like, we were all excited for the shittiest movies, Nathan. Like, we didn't know they were going to be bad at the time, and then they just continued to disappoint. But yeah, we kept on coming back and back for more.
Well, there's something special about that time too, just like waiting till midnight to watch a movie, and
Hmm.
like just I guess there's like a shared communal experience too, because you're
Absolutely.
standing with your friends, but also like you meet people in line, and like
Hmm.
you're talking about movies, and it's definitely something that is not that long ago, but like now it's we're spoiled with
I feel
our
like an old man. Yeah, because not
yeah,
only like the line of midnight showings, but like we talked about Best Buy Tuesday, I had a core group of about 8 to 12 people at any time that we would wait in line before the store opened because we knew we would have to get there at that time. Otherwise, the steelbooks would be gone because they only got like one box in. So we would go there, we would talk, we would say, which just talk about steelbooks that we're collecting, talk about movies that we've been watching. Like, that's the stuff that I miss because retail space is pretty much gone. We have a little pocket in Barnes and Noble, a little pocket in Walmart, but it's not the same at all. I'm still happy that it's there in some way or sense, but it it's what that went away not even what 3 4 years ago, but it still feels like it sucks. It just sucks not to have anymore.
yeah. My Best Buy, I think it was last year, if finally did that.
Mm.
So in
With
my part,
COVID though, COVID, the lines stopped
y-
for me at least. Everything went, in the dark, and yeah, ever since COVID, it really hasn't been the same, and it's only gotten progressively worse.
yeah. Well, looking back, I guess thinking more about those memories of going back and standing in line at the movies, but also going to Best Buy and with that group of people. Was that, I guess, when you were kind of that in that between stage where you were going to X-Men 3 or
Hmm.
Spider-Man 3? I guess at that point you were, probably like mid like late teens, early 20s, right?
This was my high school days. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say I graduated high school in '07, so
Okay.
that's the pocket where I'm at. I would say like I would just go. I was probably your average movie person who would go with friends. Probably didn't go that much myself. It wasn't until my senior year where I found, or I knew of this guy, but we didn't really hang out. He was a filmmaker who went to college, like went to college courses for film. He actually works for Netflix now out in California. He I just kind of sunk my teeth into him, a little amoeba on, just lashed
Yeah.
myself because I saw somebody that loved film. That's where I started like going into different directors' filmographies because we binged all of Scorsese's stuff in high school. Like that was just the thing to do. That's where I fell in love with Tarantino. Like that's where the cinephile part of me started, I guess. And with him like directing me and other people, other friends in movies that actually were pretty decent, like they weren't just trash movies. I still remember doing this one shot. We had a buddy whose parents owned like a really shitty motel, and it was never occupied, so it was perfect to shoot a video in or a
Sure.
movie in. And I remember him doing this one dolly shot out of a van, opening up with me walking from one side of the motel to the other, and he's got that from like a Goodfellas shot, more or less. And that type of stuff really opened my mind to like filmmaking and how much of an art it is, and just a more of an appreciation for it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome that you were able to, have a partner like that in terms of showing you kind of what, you know,
Hmm.
where I talked earlier about the record store I worked at,
Yeah.
and that's honestly where I got a lot of my notifications from, or I guess recommendations from my coworkers. Watching things like Fincher or Tarantino a little deeper than just the going to movies with friends like
Hmm.
you did too. I did similar things where I would pretty much just go with groups. So it wouldn't be until that point to watch filmography of Scorsese, or and
Hmm.
was there any particular movie that stood out to you that is like a really special one in those
Well,
times? Or
I think I am not the only person to say that Pulp Fiction blew my mind open when I first saw that for the first time. That was a big game changer. I still remember like two movie theater experiences that they don't happen often, but you see them with friends, like one or two other people. And once the movie's over, you don't talk when you walk out of the theater. You're gathering your thoughts. And then once you hit the parking lot and you're next to your car, you just unload. You just word vomit what you just saw, trying to comprehend, put things together. I remember doing that for The Dark Knight, and I remember doing that for Hereditary. Both of those movies were just like we sat in the parking lot for an hour and a half. I did it with Long Legs with a whole bunch of blue tubers last year. That was a absolute blast. And those are the times to where like everything comes full circle. Like my appreciation of film can be shared with other like-minded folks. That there's no better feeling in the world than when like circles, worlds align, and that stuff actually happens.
no, I mean, there's a point to that. Like you mentioned. I mean, I rarely, but I also just really envy those times when we do kind of just sit there like after a movie
Hmm.
and just let it wash over you, and you're thinking about it. And it's hard to describe to people who aren't into that. So
You
obviously,
can't. Yeah, I've tried, and they just don't care. Their brain goes somewhere else, or they try to bring something else up. I'm like, okay, got it.
yeah, or they're just they either dismiss the, like, maybe the ending wasn't something that they enjoyed, so they just dismissed the entire
Yeah.
thing. That's something that always irked me. I've always been in the. I mean, now I'm just going to go on a rant about TV shows. Is
Go
like
for it.
like Game of Thrones, right? For instance,
Hmm.
notoriously has not the greatest ending,
Right.
but I loved watching that show. Like
Mm.
there's so many memories I have watching it, and collectively with groups of people, and like there's like and to think if I judged the entire show based on the ending and not my experience going through the entire thing, like I would, I just don't find that valuable.
Sure.
And I'm like, there's always something to look at, I guess, look back at,
Hmm.
even if you didn't like how something turned out, I suppose.
Yeah. When we're
Anyway,
recording this, The Last of Us will start this Sunday, and I am very excited to get back on that hype train because season one was such a fun time going through it. I already played the game, the first game, so I kind of knew bullet points of where they were following, and just seeing people discover what was happening and talking with like-minded folks. So that's why I think that's one thing TV can do that movies can't is go on that episodic basis and kind of break things down on a more minute level, episode by
yeah,
episode. It's fun. And I haven't played Last of Us 2. That game came out like right when I was getting out of video games. So now I'm going to be in their shoes that I was in or in season 1, to where I have no idea what's going to happen. And I've heard of like one major event that will happen, and I haven't
same,
been spoiled
but
yet. So
fine, yeah, I
yeah.
haven't either, and I'm like, all right, and anyone who's watching this, for the love of God,
It's gonna
um,
happen. We just jinxed ourselves, Nathan.
yeah. Um, well, I mean, it's funny you say like the video game thing too, because I I stopped playing video games around Borderlands 2, which was
Yeah.
about a decade and some change
Uh-huh. Yeah.
now. So I know exactly what you mean by like not knowing what to expect, even though like there's a whole group of people, looking into something like maybe it's like an adaptation, like a book or like Game of Thrones, right? Or a
Hmm.
video game like Last of Us. But it's like I don't know where this is leading to, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I
Um,
stopped playing video games a lot when I had my first kid because I just needed to have time for family and stuff. But I remember that Fallout 4 came out 2 days before my daughter was born and 1 day before we went to the hospital. So I bought the game day of, and I remember cramming, it had to have been 16, 18 hours in a row of Fallout 4 because I knew like it's not going to be the same once I have kids. Let's just get this in, fun
mhm.
experience, but then never touch the game after that. Like I will still play every now and again with stuff. Like I played Spider-Man 2 for PS5. It's a blast. Astrobot was a blast, but now it's got to be stuff that is like family focused because at night is when I watch a lot of movies that aren't appropriate for children too. So
Right.
it's just kind of like a give and take. You got to just evolve over time, I guess.
Well, life happens, and
Hmm.
people enter, and things change. Like like for me, the puppy is a
Right.
change.
Yeah.
So I have to adapt. I'm watching movies out here in my living room now, and I haven't done that in a long time. But going back to thinking about those movies, going back to like the Best Buy experience that you were talking
Hmm.
about. When did your ideas kind of, you know, I guess come together and thinking about more of like social media stuff for movies? Was there any particular thing you were watching or like things you were following that kind of inspired you to do your own thing?
So, 2017, a group of friends and I started a podcast called Super Media All Stars. It went 73 episodes. It went a good chunk of time, and that was all about video games and movies. And during that time, we started talking about like collections and stuff, and it just dawned on me, okay, maybe this Instagram thing, maybe I should start an account and just kind of catalog my Steelbook collection. That's where it started. And I was fine making content with my friends. It was a really fun time. One major person in the group moved, and after that happened, everybody just kind of split off. We didn't do the recordings anymore. It was like right before COVID happened, so like Zoom was not really a thing that none of us knew how to do. Zoom, Skype, any of that voice or video call stuff. Um, so it stopped. It was also fun to just get together every week and have a reason. Now I don't think it could ever happen because all of us have our own separate lives and kids and responsibilities and all that fun stuff. Um, But once a pandemic happened and I was still trying to feel, I wanted that sense of like camaraderie with making content because I had a really good time doing that on that YouTube channel. It was fun. But I'm like, how do I do that by myself? Found out what TikTok was, and it just kind of exploded what my mind was. My wife was using it and I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. And then I downloaded it on my phone and I fell in love with it. I totally understood it. I love making really short content, like I would say from 10 seconds all the way to 90 seconds. That's like my sweet spot of video content that I just enjoy making. That's the type of stuff that I enjoy watching when I'm on my phone. So I kind of get like what will kind of grab people's attention or what people are really wanting to see more or less when it comes to collecting. I started making a video a day on there, stuff, and just showing stuff in my collection. Like I would say the 10th video I made was one that completely blew up. That was I have it right here. Look at that. The Knives Out Steelbook. This was
Nice.
back in, I want to say this was like January 2021 or something. And I showed the secret of the slipcover. Do you know the secret of the slipcover, Nathan?
I don't know the secret of the slipcover.
Have you seen the movie Knives Out, Nathan?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
About
so spoilers for anybody who has not seen Knives Out, but this is what made me fall in love with Lionsgate in the beginning when it came to their steel books because they put so much attention to detail on little stupid things like this. Number one, I enjoy the way the steel book looks. It looks like one of the novels that Thornby would write, like even
yeah.
down to like the spine. It just looks very, very nice. But you take the slipcover, you flip it around, you put it on the front and you go all the way down. Let's see if I can get a good shot of that. The knives circle the killer
Person.
in the movie.
Oh
They
wow.
circle Chris Evans. And as soon as I saw that, and then the back just kind of looks like a novelization still right there. Like it just
Yeah.
looks it it's such a clean release. And I fell in love with that when as soon as I figured that out, I made a video, and that video I think last I checked had like 500,000 views on TikTok. And it happened like very, very quickly. So ever since then, I'm like, okay, if this is working out and I enjoy doing this and other people like watching this, let's start the train of like making content. You just kind of think of different rules to go through in your head on what you can do to try to grow your audience outwards and just consistently try to make decent content. That was a
Yeah.
very long-winded answer to what you said, but I think I hit the basics of like the origins of my account.
No, it's good. I mean, it's making me think about like you were talking about that scene with your friends at the motel, like
Mm-hmm.
how you like that van shot. I mean, it kind of trickles to what you're doing now, and thinking about like I'm not in the TikTok space, nor am I in the short form space much at all. But it is really interesting because you would expect something like that to be like super easy, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like there's a lot of things that you're preparing for, but also like trying to figure out like, okay, how am I gonna, shoot this one thing, or how am I gonna come out this one topic, and how do I make this interesting at the same time? So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a lot of creative juices going on with all that, is what I'm trying to say.
The TikTok app, the way that they have their video editor like inside the app is the easiest interface I've ever used to where like my brain just clicked with whatever it had going. Because if you use any type of software more or less on your desktop, you have to like string clips together to make videos if you have multiple ones to put together. On TikTok, you just hold your button on the record thing, it clicks, and then you click the button again, and it makes the chain for you. And if you don't like what you have on that next video that you put out, you just erase that one, do it again. To me, it's like the easiest mainstream baseline way to make content that looks good. They have filters like crazy. Like they have a green screen filter that makes putting different objects behind you so easy. Like I'm going to put out a video tomorrow about a lot of Steelbook releases that got announced, and it took me 10 minutes to make, but it looks like it took a lot longer just because I'm using so many images behind me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and also, I mean, you've been doing it for so long now that I feel like you've learned a lot about how like the platform is, but also just like the things that you're looking for in
Mm-hmm.
the content. So, um, I guess going back to thinking about those collecting years and like, switching over to, post COVID and into kind of where you're at now.
Mhm.
Um, was there any particular like releases or, favorites out of the things that you have? Like I can go
Yeah.
the route of favorite films, or I can go the route of like favorite steelbooks, obviously with
Mhm.
this particular episode. I didn't know what you'd want to share in terms of
Sure.
like personal ones that you really enjoy.
Um, well, favorite films I feel like is a little bit on the easier side. People ask me for my favorite steelbooks all the time, and that's so hard for me to like pinpoint
Sure.
because I have so many editions of movies that I love. Like, let's kind of combine the two, I guess, for a second. My
Yeah,
favorite movie of all time is John Carpenter's The Thing. I think that movie is perfection from start to
it is.
finish. You pick
Perfect.
up something different every single time. Practical effects are amazing. Um, so because I love that movie so much, I want to collect a lot of pieces of physical media for that movie. So I think last I counted, I have 8 different steel books for the movie, all with different artwork on there, and they all look amazing. But then I also have the VHS tape. I also have the laser disc. I also have the DVD still. I also have, even though I have the Scream Factory Steelbook, I have the Scream Factory Blu-ray because it has different artwork, and I just love every single piece of art that I can get for that movie. I want to grab and have because anytime I look at any of that art, it just brings me back to how much I love that movie.
And I thought I had enough. I have like 4 or 5 versions of the thing. So,
Mhm.
nope, not enough.
There's
Steelbook.
never enough, Nathan. Never enough.
Never.
Nope.
I actually have it over there. I'm looking. Actually, I decided to start putting together all my. I'm gonna make a top 100 list of my favorite movies.
Mm,
It's a very bold thing to do because it changes all the time.
yeah,
But The Thing is definitely in that top 10, and it is my favorite horror film. So I completely
nice.
respect your choice there.
Glad we're on the
Um,
same page there.
yeah,
Do
of
you do
course.
you use Letterbox, Nathan?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Oh, good. My 4 favorites on there. I I'm pretty sure they have not changed ever since I made the account because I still think all 4 of them are pretty perfect and are different enough to still like, hey, if you like this genre, check out this movie. Um, in college I worked at a movie rental store, so like that is like entwined in me like, hey, if you like this genre, check this out, that type of thing. So
Yeah.
I put that mentality on my 4 favorites. Just going over that quick, I had The Thing, of course. I have Toy Story, the first one. I think that
Nice.
movie is amazing. Even though the animation has not aged that well, I still
True.
think the story is perfect from start to finish. I have the documentary OJ Made in America. If you have
Great
ever seen that,
documentary.
it is 10
Oh yeah.
hours of just like nonstop thrills, and so much information is jam packed in that sucker. And you realize it's a long run time, but you don't care. You actually want more when it's over, and that's my favorite type of documentary out there. And then the last one is The Social Network. That's my favorite movie of the 2010s. It makes coding into like a sporting event, makes it so cool. Normally, coding is so boring to watch. Just the cinematography of Fincher in that movie, I feel like he went out of his way to make it look as entertaining as it is. And then the score of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross just knocks that movie out of the park. Yeah, those are probably my 4 favorites if I had to pick, and I have picked, and they've been the same for like 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, it's an eclectic choice too, and I like the differences, like having a documentary, like a documentary series,
Hmm.
in there. That was, I mean, that and The Last Dance, I feel like were like the biggest
Right.
um, documentaries of the last like 10 years, probably in
I feel
terms
like
of.
OJ Made in America doesn't get talked about enough anymore. The Last Dance still does because of the Michael Jordan of it all, but I feel like Made in America got talked about for a couple of months. It won Best Documentary Oscar, if I remember correctly, and then it just kind of disappeared. And like even when OJ died, it still didn't really pop back up. And I just wish more people would check that out because I know it's long and lengthy, but I feel like anybody that watches that will get a lot out of it because it touches every part of his life, his
Yeah,
sporting days, his college football days, his acting days, and then of
movie
course
careers. Yeah,
everything that happened in the 90s. So
yeah. I'm just in my head. I'm watching Naked Gun right now, and I'm just watching him getting, hit by every single thing like a pie and falling out a
mhm.
window. So, but that's the more light, charming side of him. Um, anyway, no, those are great choices. Now I'm have to think about. I don't think I've changed my top four either, to be honest. And I think Before Sunset is on there.
Nice.
I also have Fellowship of the Ring, which is I think my favorite of the Lord of the Rings films.
Sure.
Um, I have what Princess Bride there, I think,
Hmm.
and Pan's Labyrinth. No, sorry, In Bruges. It's In Bruges.
I need to rewatch In Bruges. It's been forever. I think I originally watched that when it came out on DVD, and I have the 4K from Kino, and I have not popped it in yet.
No, it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the movies I got at the record store that was recommended to me that I just constantly recommend to other people, and
Yeah.
I feel like it's blown up ever since. But not just because of me, but in general.
Hmm.
Um, but no, that's awesome that you have that I guess that breadth of differences of types of movie releases. I know obviously you collect, but also like it sounds like a lot of the things that you enjoy too is pretty eclectic in terms of you know recommendations for what other people are watching. Is there like with your channel, I suppose, do you besides like showing off different releases and whatnot, is there like any ever like any recommendations you would give that you normally wouldn't talk about necessarily, or like any movies that like would represent you, I suppose, a little bit more, some of your favorites?
Um, I I thought about doing stuff like that, and I've done shorts on that. Like I've done like some of my favorite sci-fi, some of my favorite horror, that type of stuff. But when I'm good at making short form content, I feel a struggle trying to make long form stuff for YouTube. Like I just go back to collection edition videos because that stuff always gets flooded in. Those videos kind of make themselves. Same with review videos. If I have them ahead of time and if the studios are nice enough to send them to me, I might as well give them extra exposure and tell you my thoughts on the movie and the transfer and the packaging and all that type of stuff. But when it comes to like recommendations on stuff, I don't know. I feel like I get like a mental block. Like maybe people will want to hear a minute or two of what I want to say, but they won't want to hear 20 minutes of what I have to say. So maybe that's something I have to get over. But just in my mind, I'm like, I don't know if I make this and I put hours in editing this, is anybody even going to watch or care? Like, I feel like YouTube, that's where I come with the biggest mental block.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a real thing too, because I mean, I've actually went the route of pretty much nobody watching my videos.
Hmm.
Mainly because I mean, kind of, I used to be a little bit more on the top tens and reviews
Hmm.
and things along those lines. But I've come to the idea of like I like the longer form content more like this, or a video of me just talking about my week watching movies and recommendations. But at the same time, like it's interesting to hear like the alternate perspective, like and thinking about like you know, well, like, are people interested in listening to this,
Hmm.
or watching this content, or looking at the movies that we're talking about? Because at the end of the day, like that's the centerpiece is we're talking about movies, and hopefully we'll get as many eyes as possible as we can
Yeah.
to the people who are watching this, and so hopefully their recommendations, even if it's maybe not a long video of recommendations from you. Is
Hmm.
what I'm saying.
Well, I like I last year I did my podcast boutique talk. Like I still did an episode this year, but that's kind of went in the back burner just because life is kind of crazy. But I liked the concept of grabbing movies in my collection that other people recommend that maybe I haven't seen. I pop it in, I play it, we talk about it, talk about the special features, and that ends up being anywhere from like an hour to 2 hours. And I like that type of content when I'm at work. That's what I'm watching and listening to just in the background. I don't know. There's something comforting about just being in the same like-minded group of people that talk about movies. Like I don't hop on live streams that often, but I watch the replays all the time just because I enjoy talking with like the same people and hearing what they have gone through, hearing what new things they recommend. Just it's addicting to kind of like stay in the know of what's going on.
Yeah, and there's not enough time too. So I mean, you
Mhm.
brought up the point of like not. I'm not on live streams that often either. I mean, we've been on a few ourselves,
Yeah.
but like you have to plan pretty far in advance for things to work out. But when I'm even watching them, like a lot of the times I'm like I have something else going on, so I
Mhm.
just can't watch it. So it's nice to have the platforms that we do now, kind of being in those conversations, even if you're at work, like watching something or listening to a podcast about the things that we love.
Right.
So
I find myself watching and then hopping on Instagram and chatting with the people there, just saying, "Hey, I saw this, and here are my 2 cents on that," and then that starts like a rapport with other people. Like I find I post to 4 different websites, and I feel like all of them are used for different purposes. Like it's very strange how that works, how the same video can do differently on each platform because one
sure,
works stronger somewhere else. And like TikTok, I use to just scroll and watch stuff all the time, and that's where my videos get the most views for sure. Instagram is consistent, but that's where I talk with the most people. Like it's pretty much just like a messenger app for me that also has social media features.
yeah,
Facebook is its own beast. It's the Wild West over there. But some videos will get millions of views and crash everywhere else. Like it's so bizarre what's over there, and people are very passionate with movies over there too. So I give them a lot of kudos over on the Facebook side of things, even if I don't personally use it every day.
yeah,
And then YouTube is where it YouTube has always been a comfort blanket of sorts for me.
yeah,
I can find a whole bunch anything I want to find. That's where I fell in love with content creation like this. I've been back in my video game playing days. I watched a lot of like Game Chasers. I watched a lot of like Pat the NES Punk, Angry Video Game Nerd, all that type of stuff. Just normal average people making content that I found enjoyable, and that has kind of progressed into movie content. And it's the same thing except more people can do it now. It's more readily available to just pick up your phone, shoot some stuff, put it on the web, and see what happens.
yeah. No, I like the way that you broke down the different audiences and like just different platforms having different like one video might blow up or on one platform and the other one is just not existent.
Hmm.
I it's interesting because I've been so I guess stuck on YouTube that I haven't like looked at alternate pathways because again, the way you used it in terms of like a blanket, like that's how I feel about it too. It,
Right.
it just feels like something that's secure and
Hmm.
something that maybe not all the time gets the views that you or the like interaction that you want because that's where like Instagram can come in and you can actually like talk to people, like message them. Um, but at the same time, though, there's like a level of like control. I feel like with YouTube, where you can kind of go whatever path you want
Oh,
in
sure.
terms of
Hmm. Yep.
the movies that you're or videos you're watching, and I don't know. There's something about it that still is alluring to me, even if it's not necessarily a financial or maybe helpful tool for me. But no, it's a comfort. So I'm
Hmm.
glad that you have these different channels and for different reasons, but also at the same time, it's cool to see like to diversify that portfolio because like you're putting in the work. So like that's like it's cool to see that. And
Yeah.
probably
And that's like
hearing.
ever since TikTok had the option of or the possibility of going away, I started to think, okay, if this does go away, it doesn't matter if I have 100,000 followers over here. It's going to mean nothing in a flip of a switch. So I need to diversify. I need to say, hey, if I'm making these videos, why don't I post them to as many places as I possibly can and grow those audiences so I can still have some skin in the game, I guess, so I can still have a reason to make this stuff. And once you get into a rhythm, like I can put the same video up on all four platforms in the span of like 10 minutes. Like as long as you have your daily routine of doing it, it doesn't feel like super daunting. It did at first, and it took me a very long time to figure out a nice run of things to do. But now that I do it, it's just second nature. And if I don't do it, I start to feel like I should do this right now. Like start getting the itches and stuff, man.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to see that like that routine and that consistency has been paying off. So, yeah, kudos to that. Well, I was gonna say as we're kind of transitioning to kind of the tail end of this, but like I do want to know a little bit more about, I suppose, if somebody were, this is something I didn't ask to tell you, so this
Go
might be on
for it.
the spot,
Nope, I'm
but
all good.
it's one of those things that I like to ask sometimes. But if your life was a movie, what do you think your title of that movie would be?
That's a very good question. I would say tirelessly aggressive or something like that, to where um, some videos might blow up sometime, and it's very rewarding whenever that happens. Sometimes you can go a month and nothing really works the way that you think it should, and you get down in the dumps. But as long as you are consistent at what you do and still having some sort of positivity or enjoyment making the stuff that you're making, in the long run, it's worth it, because even though you might be like dragging your feet, making a video in the slumps about something, other people out there like what you're making. And even though you might get some buttholes in the comments typing whatever garbage they have to say, there's always some random person that also pops in and say, thanks for making this, enjoyed it, brightened my day, that type of thing. And
Yeah,
that's what I'm always striving for, is just like to make sure that whatever I make is making somebody else happy, because if it makes them happy, it also makes me happy in turn, and kind of keeps the inner light glowing, I guess.
yeah. I like the way you put that, because I feel like it is like a weird roller coaster.
Hmm.
And going back to the consistency, but also just the idea of making something where you are happy about what you're making. Like
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of us just have like a lot of various levels of burnout, I'm sure, just depending on what it is, in life. I've been through a lot of periods of that, but I think that's where, like, if you're making the content that you're doing, like if you're happy about it, like that's what matters the most. And hopefully that shows with what you're doing, and for the people who are watching, because I know that's where I'm at right now, and that's why I'm, trying to put out the stuff that I'm putting out now,
Hmm.
is because I'm like, well, I'm happy with the kind of routine that I'm trying to build, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I get in funks all the time, and that's like one of the main reasons why I stopped doing live streams, at least by myself. Because if I'm just talking into a void, I feel like I'm sometimes faking like the emotions that I'm portraying, and I hate that. Like, to me, being fake is like one of the worst things you can do on any type of like platform, or just in general out and about. So when I'm like on live with somebody else, it's great. Or when I'm recording with somebody, at least I'm talking with somebody. And even if I'm in like a bad mood to start out with, it always changes. Like I've never had an experience to where I was more upset after a live stream with somebody else, because I just enjoy conversations with like-minded folks.
yeah, well, I agree, with the not live streaming by yourself.
Yeah, it's not
It's
my thing. I tried it
not
and
my
I'm
thing
tapping.
either.
Hmm. Sometimes
I've done it.
it pays to be consistent. Sometimes it pays to listen to yourself and know when to tap out.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Well, as we're kind of exiting, is there any kind of words of wisdom in terms of your just life with movies in general? Like, is there anything that you've learned from watching movies that you would like to share with others,
Um,
or the
I
medium in general?
sure. I've been collecting movies ever since I have gotten a paycheck when I was 15 years old, and I have always loved collecting movies. Sometimes I have an abundance of movies, and it can get a little bit daunting, like trying to figure out what thing to watch at a certain point. But sometimes it's also nice to have a big variety of things behind you. I have to use my app at this point just to, because my main thing is I have so many movies in the collection that I have not watched, and I want to change that. I love going to the movies that I love and popping them in, but I also love the experience that's no longer with us with like movie rental stores, pulling out something that you have no idea if you're going to like it or not, in hopes that when you're done watching it, it becomes one of your new favorites, like one of your new go-tos. And I'm still hunting and trying to find that feeling all the time. So I guess my what I would say to you is never stop trying to chase that feeling, to chase like the feeling of discovery, the feeling of trying to connect through movies, because even though there might not be people around you that really talk or have the same passion as you, there's always people on any type of medium that you are scrolling through or clicking through or viewing that do. So as long as you try to continue to go and look and find, you will be happier in the long run, because you'll find people that kind of get what you're doing, get what you're liking.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, and I like the curiosity aspect of like discovering that feeling, or
Mhm.
like rediscovering that feeling. So, yeah. Well, I mean, I appreciate you for stopping by and also just sharing with us your journey. I was going to say before we leave, is there anything else you would like to mention to anybody, or say anything about where to find you?
I think I plugged everything I need to, but I will. I can't help but talk about this, even though I can't talk about it yet. Um, I had a bucket list idea in 2025 that I wanted to help either produce or be on a special feature of a physical media release.
Hmm.
I can now say that has happened, and it'll be announced hopefully sometime this year or early next year. I don't know when it's going to be announced, but it has happened. And because it has happened, it's kind of opened up the floodgates to other opportunities now that that is in the can. So again, if you have something that you're passionate about, chase it, because you never know what opportunities are going to pop out. I'm happy. I'm happy with what has happened, and I'm happy with what's going to happen in the future.
Well, congrats. I'm looking forward to seeing what that is, and also just thank you so much for stopping by and sharing your journey as you're currently going through it, and then just also just the passion that you have for this medium that we all hopefully enjoy. Who is hopefully watching this? If you are watching this, hopefully you are enjoying the movies.
Yeah.
So
No, thanks for having me on, Nathan. This was a real treat.
yeah. Well, for everybody, I'm losing my voice, but well, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Go ahead and follow my friend Jake on all these platforms. I'll put them all down in the description once Jake sends me all of them. Is there like
Mhm.
a link tree I could probably send or something like
Absolutely.
that?
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Um, well, anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you want to join in on the conversation, feel free to let us know in the comment section down below. We would love to hear from you, and appreciate you all stopping by. And as always, I'm not jonesing around.